Nothing says crypto like the NBA, am I right? And really, Ledger is leaning into this with their newest sponsorship. But more on that in a second. Welcome to Cryptocurrents, the weekly podcast of people actually working in crypto and blockchain, talking about everything you need to know going on in the industry. No FOMO, no shilling, just up-to-date information to arm you with knowledge for your crypto journey. Think of us like a fresh pack of Magic the Gathering cards. You don't know what's inside exactly, but you know there's going to at least be one rare. Hopefully it's a Black Lotus. I'm your host, Vince, and today I'm joined by our resident degen, Kale.
What's up?
And Katya.
Who doesn't know anything about what's inside a Magic Gathering card pack at all.
What? No way.
What would be the crypto version of Black Lotus? Like a
Probably
CryptoPunk
like
or something?
pre-ICO Ethereum.
Yeah, something along those lines.
Yeah, it's just super powerful, super rare, and super valuable. So, one of those things. But we'll talk about Magic some more, maybe. But let's talk first about all the buzz on Twitter. X is going to start rolling out in-app trading and investment stuff. And this has kind of been on their radar for years now, but it seems like it's going to be coming very soon. What are you guys' feelings on this? Kale, kick us off.
Dude, I don't know. Like, I'm not super stoked about it.
Why is that?
Partly because, like, ever since Elon has taken over Twitter, I feel like he's announced like all types of random things that he wants to do, and only like half of them are being implemented so far.
So you're just now paying attention to Elon. You don't remember the Boring Company and all of these other things where he's like, we're doing a thing, and then he never does the thing?
No, exactly. That's why I'm saying, I'm like, this is why, I don't know, bro. Like, that's partly why I'm not excited about it, because I feel like there's a pretty good chance it might not ever happen. And then secondly, even if it does happen, I don't see myself being a user of it, because I feel like what he's trying to do with Twitter is make it like the everything app, like all in one. And what's going to be a result of that is like all the things that he's trying to do in Twitter is just going to be like a subpar product.
Yeah. Kind of a jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah, exactly. Rather than like a Uniswap or a CowSwap that only focuses on swapping. And so they're able to do it like seamlessly and convenient and all that. And yeah, I feel like
Katya?
Twitter is just going to be doing too much.
What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of X or Musk or any of the above. I believe the first thing that they want to launch definitively is something called X Money, which is basically like payments within X to, I guess, between users to creators and, for whatever, which to me is like just enable like Apple Pay or whatever, like it's the same, like you add your card. They're like, you'll be able to add your card and pay for things. I'm like, yes, that exists. Like you can add your card if you have, whatever your phone is. An Android, I'm sure it's the same as an iOS. You can add a card and do whatever, like in their ecosystem. But the other stuff like investment and, everything app. Yeah, I'm also not a fan of that concept. An everything app just for finance, I am, willing to look at. Like I am intrigued by that. And even then, it's probably a sort of thing where like it's integrations and collaborations. It's like not one thing trying to be the best swapper and the best, like yield producer, everything, but just kind of like a really good aggregator, if you will, of like different services like that. I'm interested in like when platforms try to do that. But mixing payments, finance, investment, whatever, with social, with Twitter, like I don't think it's a good idea. I think those things should stay separate. So aside from sharing Kale's skepticism about the execution of this, I am not interested in that at all. Like I tend to be private already. Like I don't like posting a lot that can, identify me or my family or where I live or anything like that. But, to put like
You
my
live in
finances.
Nebraska. What?
I know it's very convenient. Nobody knows where it is. So
No one's
like
coming
I'm
for you out
safe.
there.
But yeah, like putting my finances into like the social settings. No, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I remember Stock Twits, which was a Twitter kind of knockoff with trading, and that failed a couple of years ago. And I'm with you both. Like the intersection of finance and social is bonkers to me.
It's dangerous.
I mean, I don't even care if it's dangerous. That's not even something I just want to like share or give two craps about. Like, public.com on their little stock trading app has a public social feed, and it's full of bots. It's full of garbage. It adds no value. Same thing with like the comment section on Yahoo Finance, like no value. Um, and even like Phantom Wallet is adding a social aspect to their wallet, which is crazy to me because wallet to wallet messaging we already know is a massive failure. I just think there's nothing in the world of finance and social that intersect in kind of a meaningful way that doesn't just get taken over by shilsters and bots.
Yeah. There's probably an angle once we figure out ZK, but up until then, it's like pretty sketchy.
Yeah, but I mean, and that's not going to stop the bot problem. Like, no one can stop the bot problem. That's
True.
what's crazy to me.
And it's interesting to me that like we as humans dealing with tech, recognize that I think nobody likes the fact that at this point we realize that surveillance tech exists and it is able to pinpoint exactly like what you said in your household, what you bought 10 minutes after that, where you went 10 minutes after that, like maybe this data doesn't exist in one single place, like at the FBI or whatever, but it all exists out there. So if someone is willing to put it together, like literally your minute by minute, like not just what you do and what you pay for, but like how you get there, like what you say, what somebody says to you, like all of that is available. And we all recognize that that's a big problem that we will as a society will have to deal with at some point. But this is like help, like doing that willingly. Oh, but let me do that. Like, okay, at least this data is at this point only available to like the government and the highest bidder, and the bid has to be pretty high for it to like. But now I'm gonna make it available to my stupid neighbor Chad, like who can now learn everything he wants to know about me, and my wallet is involved in there. I don't understand the logic.
Yeah, I think it's the case of I feel like every technologist saw what happened with GameStop and is like, ooh, power to the people. Like, if we can like create these social movements, there's going to be upheavals in finance, and that's a lot of opportunity, a lot of volatility. But I think now it's just like inundated with AI agents, bots, and stuff that just create so much noise that even if you do offer up some valuable insight of like, here's the token I bought, then just 1,000 other bots are going to be like, no, you should buy this other token. And it's silly.
Yeah, and also like you have to recognize again, a lot of us believe that rampant consumerism is a problem, but all of these payment implementations into apps that actually do other things is all it is a way to shorten your path to the buy button.
Yeah.
Like that's all it is. It's like buy now, like to completely remove any kind of like, there are a lot of articles and research about the psychology of online shopping and how the pause that you would have most of the time between like, oh, I want that. And then you have to get in your car, you have to drive to the mall, you have to look at the things. And then you're like, oh, they're not actually that great, or I'm tired, whatever. You go home, you never buy it. Right. Or you never drive there because like it's too much work. Like that whole kind of buffer is being removed. That's what online shopping did for commerce, like among other things. And this is just like pushing it, making that things smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, like the TikTok commerce and whatever. Like you see it, buy it, buy it, buy it, buy it. Your card is connected directly to your eyes. Like you look at something,
Blink
like
twice to buy.
Not even that. Like how they track your eyes, how long you look at something on the page. You look at something for longer than 10 seconds. That's it. It's arriving at your doorstep tomorrow morning.
Add to cart.
I mean, yeah, you're completely right. So let's see what they implement. Let's see if it actually works, if they even deliver on it. But who is delivering is Coinbase. They just were approved for 27 different countries in Europe to begin offering Coinbase trading. Kale, talk to me about this.
I didn't even know that they're not available in the EU. I just assumed that they were because they're like such a dominant player that like I just assumed that they've been global.
No, yeah, definitely not global. I went to the grand opening of their Paris office, which they then very quickly shut down.
Dude.
Did they move it somewhere else, or just...
Yeah, they moved it somewhere else.
I'm kind of...
yeah, sorry, Gail, I cut you off. Go on.
Nah, you're good. I was just gonna say I'm kind of conflicted about this because you know me, I love to like champion cypherpunk values or whatever. And I feel like Coinbase taking over, or not necessarily taking over, but like I feel like it's kind of starting to happen where like Coinbase is gaining such a huge lead on everybody else, that the whole like idea of decentralization and like having a bunch of companies is like dying with every headline like this. But
so do you think that they have that much of a lead over the Krakens of the Robinhoods of the OKXs of the world, of the Binances of the world?
No, I don't think it's game over yet, but I do feel like we're getting there, like the lead is growing with every headline like this. So yeah, I don't know. I'm conflicted about it because I want to see everything like decentralized or whatever, but I also realize like how difficult it is for everything to be like 1,000% P2P and decentralized and all that. So I don't know. I'm very conflicted about this. I do feel like overall it's bullish for number go up technology.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I mean, they were my first like place that I bought crypto was on Coinbase.
They're old.
Their janky app back in the day. I remember that, and it was fascinating. And then since then, I've evolved and moved on. But I think as a noted brand, there's a lot of good that they have and can do in bringing people into the space. And then it's up to people to be like, okay, yeah, I can see the potential and I like the idea of decentralization. Let me go self-custody my crypto now.
True. Yeah, and in that sense, it's definitely great.
To me, I was very aware that Coinbase wasn't, because like in my mind it was always like Coinbase in America and then like Binance, Kraken like elsewhere, so very separated. So, but to me the most interesting thing about this I was reading is that this MiCA rule that they have in something crypto assets, something, so
yeah.
Basically, you can get approved in any of the member states, and then you can operate in all of the member states. So, Coinbase got approved in Luxembourg, and someone else, I forget who, Gemini, anyway, has been trying in Malta. So this is almost like an offshore kind of deal happening, that some states have, they don't all have the same regulations in terms of like passing into this. So companies are going to be flocking to like these specific countries where it's known that it's easier to get the license. And even though this is cool, but on the other hand, I have to agree, I have to see the logic of the critics who are saying this is fragmenting to the EU policies on crypto, like it's going to be like a race towards the lowest common denominator. It's like in the US, it's kind of like tax breaks, right? Like that are offered to corporations
I
that
was going to
will.
say, clearly you've never founded a company in Delaware or the British Virgin Isles.
We'll leave that out of this
Never mind,
out
you
of this
have.
podcast. But yeah, so this is like I guess there aren't enough companies that got cleared through this yet to make it a big issue, but it's becoming one. And Europe is they're like, we're gonna review Luxembourg's or Malta's, policies to see how they're actually doing it over there, etc. So it's like it's a brewing like controversy, I feel like, over there in terms of how they hand out these licenses and where.
I am always intrigued to see like what becomes the next crypto hub. People are always like, "Oh, Lisbon is great." Like everyone's moving to Lisbon because they're crypto friendly and, they don't tax your gains or whatever. And I do think it kind of like passes the broader ecosystem around, which on the one hand is complicated, but on the other hand it's kind of nice because it kind of breathes the industry into these areas in ways that I don't know if we just saw standard adoption occur. Um, but the model of like the Schlegen countries where it's like, okay, you have a visa for a Schlegen country and you can go all over there, I do think is really good. This is clearly in that same vein. And I like it. I think it's interesting. But you're right, it could cause a lot of problems.
It's interesting that they can like go to one country and then get this license for all of Europe.
Yeah. I mean,
seems.
that's kind of how the European Union works, right?
Yeah.
We're all in this together, but also, sure, you vouch for this person? Okay, I guess we'll take them on. Could
They're all
backfire.
boys out there.
Yeah, you never know. So speaking of exchanges, OKX is allegedly considering an IPO. And I have to think that this is because of Circle's massive success with their IPO. But it's just kind of interesting because OKX just recently relaunched in the US. They had some licensing issues that were problematic. Then they relaunched in April, and now they're like, well, maybe we should IPO now. Is this kind of indicative of, in your guys' opinion, the lessening of restriction, the broader adoption, or is this just classic case of crypto bros being like, ooh, what if we make some more dollars?
Money printing.
Yeah.
No, yeah, like I was around, I was already in crypto for the ICO craze, but like I wasn't in it to the extent to like understand or participate in it.
Mm-hmm.
But like everybody and anybody wanted, and it's like, oh, well, this is easy. And look at Circle. Circle is like giving everybody big eyes because of, how their stock is performing and everything. And so they're like, well, YOLO, like they just, got their suit got dropped, they settled, whatever, and they're like, that's fine. We're, riding the wave. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel
Kale?
like it's I mean, probably a little bit of both. It's definitely like regulations are easing, so the floodgates are kind of opening. But then also it's like, yeah, companies are going to see how well Coinbase or Circle, sorry, how well Circle is performing and want to do it themselves. So I'm sure there's like both mixed in there. When I first heard about the OKX IPO, my first reaction was like, boring, because all like I feel like every company that's IPOing has been an exchange except for Circle.
Yeah.
But then after thinking about it for a second, I realized that like that thing that I was complaining about like a minute ago about decentralization and the more companies the better, like this is in a way like an answer to that kind of, because it's the more exchanges that IPO the better.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I do agree it's boring. I think we are at kind of a very low point in crypto where the future of finance is apparently just speculation and trading. And I hope that we're kind of moving away from that because I agree it is boring to be like, oh, another exchange. Okay, fine. Yeah, it just doesn't excite me.
But something you said, Kale, made me think about, how you complain about centralization and all that. What does it mean, though, for decentralized companies to be IPOing? Like, I'm just as a thought exercise, I'm trying on like imagine Ethereum IPOing.
Well, they
Like
did. It's called an ETF.
but I mean, like, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
what
no,
would you, how would you feel about that? Like,
no, I see what you're trying to say. I feel like um a decentralized entity like Ethereum trying to IPO, I don't even know like where to begin for that. But like what I'm referring to when I say decentralization is just like the opposite of centralization, basically, which is like one company that has all the power. So like in the way I'm like talking about it is like two centralized companies is more decentralized, than one centralized company, even though they're still centralized
Yeah.
companies.
yeah.
In that sense, it's decentralizing it a little more. So
I mean, we work at a centralized company dealing with decentralized technology, right? No,
yeah,
no company will
exactly.
ever be decentralized and work well. I'm looking at you, DAOs. I think you're
Yeah,
stupid.
exactly, bro.
Nobody actually does work at DAOs. It's all a fugazi.
Somebody needs to enforce the standards.
Yeah. Corporate is on line one.
Yes, yes.
So if we kind of look at decentralization and kind of like bringing more people into crypto, something that's in the headlines right now is Chainlink and Mastercard are teaming up to enable a bunch of people, cardholders, to on ramp. And a bunch of these articles are saying 3 billion people to purchase crypto on chain. There's no way.
I mean,
Nearly half
MasterCard,
the population has a Mastercard. Mastercards suck.
unless they're just straight up lying. Like they said they have like 3.5 billion users. That's
I think
crazy.
they're wrong. I think they're like, oh, this guy has 4 Mastercards, so
Mm.
that's what
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
gonna
like, are they
count it on.
counting every credit card number ever issued?
And they know they're wrong. They're just like conveniently wrong.
Yeah, because I mean, they're
That
like,
makes
well,
sense.
I mean, just because you're an authorized user on your wife's account, that's two different card holders, or yeah,
Yeah, it makes
because
sense. Yeah.
there's you got to think how much of the world population of 8 billion is children,
I was
and
just gonna say
then
that. Yeah. Yeah.
how many of
Yeah.
those people are below 18? A significant portion. How many people don't even have access to credit institutions? Probably a lot more than half. Like, so
Yeah.
I don't buy these numbers, and I think my bullshit sniffer goes off. But the underlying, concept of Chainlink and Mastercard, enabling this on ramping is great. I think the easier it is to on ramp with notable brands, the better.
Yeah, so this whole Chainlink and MasterCard thing, they're basically what they're allowing is you can go to a DEX like Uniswap and just straight buy any coin with
Yep.
your MasterCard. So that's going to unlock a lot of liquidity. Like there's one less intermediary and more convenience. So right now, if you want to go straight on chain, you have to go through like Topper or MoonPay or one of the on ramps. But
So this was actually like my question because I read some of the articles and releases, and my gripe is always like every release in crypto, and the closer to TradFi it gets, or like the more it enmeshes with TradFi, the more this trend amplifies. And it's like every release is like innovation this, seamless this, crypto rails, TradFi rails, whatever that. And I'm like, what does the thing do? Like, show me, like what I do, So
What I do?
like
what do?
because a lot of these and also a lot of these announcements are just like announcements of upcoming infrastructure for
Yeah.
the thing that's actually gonna do the thing, which to me, when I put my like retail consumer hat on, is just like exhausting, and I'm just like, ugh, just give me the thing, and if you don't have the thing, shut the fuck up, So I'm glad, Kale, that you because I didn't find this, like elucidated this to me, that what it actually means is that you go to Uniswap and just use your MasterCard and just buy it directly, so without having to like buy ETH, swap, or whatever it is. But so then where does it go? You still have to have a wallet, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how it works on the back end, like as far as like where the tokens that you're buying ends up. But yeah, if I understand correctly, they're enabling users to use their Mastercard directly on chain, so like without the on ramper that we're used to.
I mean, this was the dream during the like NFT boom. Like so many
Yeah,
people raised a bunch of money and then NFTs went kaput. Being like, oh
Okay.
yeah, you just want to buy a Bored Ape, like whip out your credit card and then buy it, and then we'll figure out how you can get it into your wallet or whatever. But no
So
one executed on that.
how is it different than I mean, not in the back on, in the back end, but for me as a retail user, how is it different than just having like on-ramping in a wallet that is just like really wide? Like I know that some on-ramps only will let you buy Ether, Bitcoin, or that, and but like there are ones that will
it's
let you
like
buy a very wide range.
it's like what you were saying earlier about removing the buffer. Like people have to go in their car and then drive to the store. It's like
Right.
this is just removing a buffer. Like we don't have to on ramp anymore. You don't have to deal with the on ramp. You can literally just go to Uniswap, put in your credit card information, and then
Does
get
it
the
then
coin.
not have KYC?
I mean, I assume that your KYC is already done by the credit card,
Yeah, I'm
and
not
then
sure
when you take
exactly.
ownership of it, that KYC is passed through.
I
Okay,
mean, that makes
because yeah,
sense.
I'm just trying to understand like what is the actual procedural difference to the
Oh,
to the user.
clearly it's not launched yet. So I think if it actually gets legs and launches, we'll be like, oh, this is what they meant. Because you're right. Like, it's not
Yeah.
necessarily clear. My takeaway is the same as Kale's. It's like, swipe, give me the thing. And they're like, and then we'll figure out how to give you the thing,
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
which is
Okay.
always the challenge. But I think that kind of speaks to broader tech and crypto marketing is make an announcement about what you're gonna do, and then if no one gets excited, don't do it. Um, and I think that's the wrong way to go about doing things. Um, because everyone's like, well, clearly we didn't market this product well, so maybe we don't do that. And I'm like, or the product was just stupid and nobody wanted it. Speaking
Pick
about
your
things that
poison.
nobody in crypto wants, what are your thoughts on NBA sponsorship by Ledger?
Ay, ay,
Sports, am I
ay,
right?
dude. Dude, okay. So, yeah, recently Ledger sponsored, or I don't know like who sponsored who. They came to an agreement. They have a partnership, whatever you want to call it. But the San Antonio Spurs is a basketball team, and Ledger is signed a multi-year deal with them to have their logo like right here on
Yep.
the Spurs jersey. I think it's cool, because the UFC is all over crypto. Like if you watch the
Mm.
UFC at all, you see like crypto.com advertisements. There's a VeChain, like VeChain dApps. There's like VBetter by VeChain gets plastered all over the UFC. Um, so I mean, crypto in sports isn't anything new, but I think it's cool to see a company like Ledger that's building self-custody products get this type of mind share.
Yeah.
So
And
that's cool.
Robinhood has been a sponsor of the Miami Bears. I don't know
Miami
sports.
Dolphins?
No, it's a basketball team as well. And they
Oh,
just
Heat. Miami Heat.
maybe I don't know.
Bears.
Or maybe it's the Washington Wizards. I hate sports. And also like now they're like sponsoring an F1 car or whatever.
Robin Hood?
Yeah. Um, and so this is like the point where I'm like, these companies have too much money if they're just like, what if we light it on fire for a
True,
little
dude.
patch that people see in the photos? Um, but at the end of the day, like soccer has been plastering Emirates over everyone's jerseys for
True.
decades, and
True.
apparently it works well. I just wish I had that kind of FU money.
Yeah. And then did you hear about the recovery key Ledger dropped?
I did. I didn't get a full chance to look into it, but tell me more.
So it's kind of like a YubiKey.
Mm-hmm.
You know what YubiKey is? Yeah.
Yep.
So it's similar to a YubiKey, but instead of using it to log in, you use it to gain access to your seed phrase when you lose it.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a pin to access the card, and it stores and recovers up to 24 words of your seed phrase. So kind of cool.
Yeah, like you tap it, like if you lose access to your hardware wallet,
Yeah, and then you have to enter a PIN, and
you
then
have
you
to
get your seed
tap the
phrase.
card and enter a PIN, and then it communicates. It's offline, but it communicates only with the physical wallet and
Yeah,
unlocks it for
so
you.
definitely a step in the right direction. I think it's
So in the
cool.
next wrench attack, I can just be like, give me your ledger recovery card.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it doesn't
Yeah,
help with wrench attacks at all. But yeah, I do think it's a step in the right direction as far as like UX for self-custody, you know,
So
I mean,
having
like,
really, it's just like engraving it on a steel plate and putting it somewhere else, but with an additional pin code.
pretty
but
much,
you
yeah.
don't actually see the words on it. That's the thing.
I would think, what if it got the words wrong? What if
What
the
if the card
battery
is
dies?
wrong?
Yeah, like what if the
Oh
23rd
no.
word is actually frog and not,
It's
falcon?
like, can I carry it in my magnetized, iPhone wallet? Like, what
That's a
if the
great
magnet fucks it
question.
up?
That is a
Dude,
great
yeah.
question.
Yeah, all of these are very valid.
Yeah,
I mean, nothing works against a $5 wrench attack, unfortunately, because, it's something you are, it's something the wrench attack takes care of all of that.
True.
so do you have any other comments on basketball and mainstream sports sponsorship of crypto things, Katya?
Me?
Yeah.
Just zero, none. Like the sports, like I have no opinion. I mean, I know that people I know that people like sports. I've heard. I've
I've
heard there are
heard.
a lot I've heard there are a lot of fans. I've only learned, but this is the measure of my awareness of sports. I only learned like now that New York is going to be hosting the World Soccer Cup like
Mhm.
in a year. And only because like my commute was disrupted and I was like, what the hell is this? Well, we're building for the World Cup.
We're Americans.
Nope.
We don't care about
Nope.
soccer. So
Football.
put on your marketer hats then. Like, where do you think a better investment in kind of this brand recognition sponsorship would be for crypto? Any that kind of like jump out to you? We all kind of agree that maybe basketball is kind of stupid. UFC is a little bit more interesting, a bit more degeneracy, a bit more gambling there. No one's taken their kids to a UFC thing. It's not part of like the American identity, like baseball or basketball, getting your $25 hot dogs these days. Um, what would jump out to you as something you're like, ooh, that's interesting.
I mean, I think that before we can think about that, I think it has to get much better at doing certain things that normal people want to do.
Mhm.
Like we could advertise to moms at Target, but before we can do that, then we have to have better instruments for like yield and simple things with stable coins in the in our wallets, etc. So I don't know.
I want to see McDonald's toys.
McDonald's toys. Okay, I like that.
Oh,
Crypto's
go
fun.
hard.
Crypto's cutesy. We indoctrinate the children early.
Exactly. We just
Be
got to
like,
figure out a way to like get the parents into the wallet.
you can do it eventually. Be like, I mean, think of it like the what are the Nintendo Amiibos things?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like you can get a digital NFT that your kid can play with and own it for forever.
Yeah, that's an
Okay,
angle.
I like
And
that.
McDonald's goes hard too on socials. Like they partner with people all the time.
Oh, definitely. They love to spend the money. Well, dear listener, this brings us to the end of our episode. Just wanted to thank you for taking the time you spent with us today. We hope you feel smarter because you definitely are. Make sure you leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to your podcasts. Follow the channel if you're watching on YouTube, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
But
Bye.